Okay, welcome back. Good afternoon. Beautiful day. Keep in mind that I still have 3 or 4 copies of the participation notes you worked on last Thursday when we watched the first 2 films from the Transformer series. They're still in alphabetical order, so if you haven't picked up yours, please do so at the end of the class. As usual, I'm going to circulate pages where you can write notes during the film. However, it's up to you. If you prefer not to write anything while you're watching the scenes and do this later, you can post your comments on Google Docs or even return this to me on Tuesday. That would be fine. This is participation. There isn't a firm deadline on these things, okay? And what I'm looking for is not just any reaction. Of course, if you have a strong feeling about the film, you're free to express that, but try to focus on themes that are related to the class, and I'll provide an introduction so that you know what to focus on. And today's movie will be by far the best in the Transformers series, Bumblebee from 2018. The one film you can enjoy even if you haven't seen a single one of the others. Even the battle scene at the end is not so chaotic and boring as the one in Transformer, the first one from 2007, which I think is egregiously bad in terms of battle scenes, fighting scenes at the end, or the one from the latest Transformers from this summer. Okay, so I'll circulate a few copies, that will be extra. So if you see anyone coming later, you can direct them to the leftover copies. Nice.
Was the person that directed Rise of the Beast the same person that directed Bumblebee?
No, Bumblebee was directed by Travis McKnight, which is primarily an animator, hasn't done many films, a few shorts. And you have Michael Bay for the first 2 or 3 films. The last one was not even Michael Bay, although the direction of the last was not bad, or the direction of the first is not an Oscar-winning directing execution.
Perhaps that was why the fight choreography was much better. He probably, as did his experience with an animator, was able to plot it out much better, i.e. storyboards.
Yeah, it could be, although I think what he brought was a different kind of sensitivity, a different way to build characters and design the arc, the narrative arc of the characters with visuals, instead of just using words or mostly using words. Whereas in the last one, it's more of the same. What is the norm these days at Hollywood? Reinforce everything with explanations, with dialogues, repeat things with words. And it's not really cinema. So Bumblebee is not Frank Capra or Martin Scorsese. It's not that kind of artsy film. But it is enjoyable. It is a good commercial product, even though it's a big budget film. And you know that big budget films come with all sorts of restrictions for the directors. They don't enjoy as much creative freedom unless they have a big name, because the producers want to make sure that they make the money they need to make to cover for their investments, profits, and etc. Okay, so and this is what I like about Bumblebee, the fact that the visuals carry the story as much as the dialogue lines. And also, yes, you find a few big scenes, but It's not all about the explosions. It's not about the special effects. And in many ways, it is a traditional product in that one simple way to organize a story for a film and make it efficient and economic in terms of shooting the film, because of course when you have a big budget film with a sizable chunk of the budget being assigned to special effects, then you have to make up somewhere else. What they've done in this film, and if you think about it, you'll see this template in many other films, is repetition and variation. Repetition meaning that you go back to the same scene several times. In this case, you go through several mornings of the protagonist, Charlie. And every morning she's different. And every morning the scene develops differently. But you always go back to the same setting, which is Charlie's house. And then you have a few external scenes and the big scenes, such especially the last one. Okay? Keep in mind that there is a page devoted to Bumblebee where you find some notes and you find also links, so you can see where Bumblebee is being streamed through justwatch.com, and you find it on Amazon Prime. And also, as I've done for the first film, The Love Bug, I've provided with frames of the whole film taken at 1 or 2 seconds interval. If you're interested in the cinematic style and you want to see how a scene is being shot, how the camera moves, how the camera angle changes. These are PDFs, and of course they're compressed, so they're not huge files, they're not difficult to see inside your browser or to download. Of course I have to break it down into 3 files because it's altogether a little more than 3,000 frames for the whole film. Okay, but this would be the basics to study the film from the point of view of cinematography, camera angles, editing, etc. Just in case you're curious, or just in case you want to review this about the film. Okay, these are the notes for my introduction. So in this film, this is a prequel to the story, right? The first film with Shia LaBeouf took place in 2006. Right, the movie came out in 2007. The story is around the same time. In here, instead, we are in 1987, and the premise, as usual, the first scene is devoted to the never-ending fight between the Decepticons and the Autobots, the good bots, the bad bots. In this case, we find the original war, the genesis story for these two tribes of biological, technical creatures. That is to say, where on their planet there are these two feuding groups of bots. The Decepticons are winning the war apparently, and therefore Optimus Prime, who's the leader of the Autobots, before their group is completely defeated, sends out a small yellow bot named Bumblebee on a mission to scout and find another planet where they can relocate, because they see that the war is going in such a way that they'll be losing. So Bumblebee crashes on Earth by itself. Bumblebee, who initially has the name of B-127. Bumblebee is the name that will be given to him later on in the film by Charlie, although it is suggested visually in many different ways. There are bees around the car when Charlie finds it in a junkyard, for example. So B-127 crashes on Earth, and lands in a place in Northern California where elements, a unit of Section 7, which is the secret governmental agency introduced in the first film from 2007 with Shia LaBeouf, the one where you find John Turturro playing the part of one of the officers of Section 7. In here is John Cena, who plays the part of Jack Burns. And of course, the soldiers see this bot land and they immediately chase after the bot, chase after B-127. And then, to make things even messier, a Decepticon comes in and there is a fight between B-127 and this Decepticon bot. And by the end, even though B-127 wins this duel, B-127 is almost destroyed. Cannot speak anymore. The voice synthesizer is damaged and has to shut down. And before it shuts down, whereas during the chase, when it was being chased by John Cena and his man, B-127 had taken the shape of a Willis Jeep, one of those military jeeps from World War II. Then, when it's about to shut down, B-127 scans the landscape looking for other technologies to imitate, to transform into, and finds a yellow Volkswagen Beetle, very similar to just a little older than the Volkswagen Beetle that Shia LaBeouf finds in the parking lot next to the Camaro, and turns into that Beetle. But it is shutting down. So later on, that Beetle will be donated by Charlie's uncle to Charlie. Charlie is a high school student, age 18 or so. She lives near San Francisco. She recently, sometime earlier, she lost her father. She lives in a family where her mother has married another man. She has a brother, much younger brother, or rather it should be a step brother. And she is not particularly popular at school. She's not seen as part of the cool group. She drives a very goofy kind of scooter. On the day of her birthday, her mother gives her a helmet with flowers, which doesn't help on the cool side at all. Because safety above everything, right? For mothers. Finally, in the junkyard where Charlie usually goes to work and finds her true self, but keep in mind that working on technologies in the junkyard, abandoned technologies, is a metaphor for working on herself, on her personal growth, on her persona, on the vehicle that she uses to interact with society. She finds this Beetle. Her uncle, who's the owner of the junkyard, gives the Beetle to her. She fixes it, brings it home, finds out that in fact we have the revelation scene in the garage, finds out that the Beetle is in fact a bot. They bond with each other, and through this interaction, friendship, deep connection, emotional and psychological connection, they both change. B-127 finds the strength to accomplish his mission, and Charlie finds the strengths and the ways, the methods to become an adult. Someone who is seen by the others the way she really is. Because that's her problem, that people don't see her for what she really is. She cannot project the strength, the power she has inside. She herself, like B-127, Bumblebee, has to find a voice that will be heard. At the end of the movie, there is a big fight. where even Charlie can be helpful, right? Even she can help these big bots win the battle, and by the end of the movie we have the complete transformation. So what is relevant, and we'll watch part of the initial segment of the film and then the epilogue at the end. What are the commonalities between these two characters that we should focus on? And then keep in mind for your analysis of the film how much the visuals carry on these themes. B-127 comes from his own planet into a new planet. So he experiences loss, the loss of a friendly environment, the loss of his people, his tribe, the other Autobot, the loss of a quasi-father who's the leader, Optimus Prime, right? Charlie lives with her new family, has suffered the loss of her biological father, and she's struggling. She cannot find a real place in the new family. She's not treated like her stepbrother. She's not treated like an adult. And so B-127 has a mission, and the mission is to find a new home planet for the other Autobots. For Charlie, the mission is to become an adult. Of course, B-127 has first to come back to life because he shut down after the initial fight, and that is where Charlie is instrumental and the bond is created. She gives new life to B-127. B-127 helps her find her path, and it's a new path in life. They go through various body exterior transformation, which are all metaphors for the search for an identity, right? A public identity, whereas people see you from the image you project from what you carry around. Initially, B-127 changes into a Jeep from the 1940s, then a Volkswagen Beetle, and it's the right choice, right? The Beetle conveys the idea that he's not strong. That is the kind of car that conveys the opposite of cool, the same way that Charlie has that issue with not being seen as cool enough to be appreciated by others. Finally, by the end of the film, Bumblebee, having accomplished his mission, and the accomplishment is acknowledged by Optimus Prime, who calls him a hero, becomes a Camaro. So the the caterpillar has turned into a butterfly, in a way. And Charlie too is seen initially in a variety of goofy exterior shells. The ridiculous uniform that she wears at work. She works in a place selling hot dogs at an amusement park. The flowery helmet given to her by her mother, which her mother forces her to wear. The scooter, the terribly uncool scooter that she is driving, right? Nothing like a motorcycle, nothing like a motorbike. Really uncool. The kind, by the way, that was tremendously popular in Europe in the 1970s and 80s. Even my sister and I had a scooter like that, similar to that. Then she is seen going around in this Volkswagen Beetle, and she gets some pride out of that, because the Beetle has been restored by her, and then the Beetle, she learns, is a much cooler Autobot, okay? Finally, when Charlie has helped the Autobots win the war against the Decepticons, save the Earth, she's seen in a Corvette, but not any Corvette. This is a Corvette, first series or second series Corvette from the 1950s that she had been working on restoring with her father. And her father died. She tried to continue the work of restoration of the car by herself. Could never complete that, right? Because she's alone working at that. Without her father, she did not transform herself. She cannot do it by herself without a connection. That role will be taken over by Bumblebee. So by the end, you see her like a woman, not like a teenager. And you see her empowered, confident, driving this Corvette. We also see that she has found a new place in the world, a new place in the family. She's respected now by her parents. Her parents are not treating her like a kid, an immature kid, and society has more respect for her. In terms of the visual pattern, one of the most frequent visual tropes is the idea of seeing and being seen. And you'll see that all the time. For example, when she gets the Volkswagen Beetle inside has Bumblebee, right? And sometimes Bumblebee opens its eyes, for example, from under the car to look at her. And then there are the mirrors of the various cars, the side mirror, the rear view mirror of the Volkswagen Beetle, of the Corvette, where characters see themselves or others are looking at their eyes. But of course, seen and being seen is not just a regular thing. Life is made of this kind of action. In here, it corresponds to the theme of looking for an identity. Seeing yourself and knowing what you see, being proud of what you've seen because you found the persona that was inside of you, and now the shell, whether it be the body, the clothes, the car that you carry around, conveys that message of power to the others. And therefore, people see you and see the qualities that you have. So that's why it is so important, because otherwise this kind of visual pattern can be executed to other ends. For example, you find it very often in the last Mad Max Fury Road, where characters, like in the old Western movies, see things before they're shown to the spectators. You see Charlize Theron looking out of her truck, Charlize Theron playing the part of the character of Furiosa, Imperator Furiosa. You see her looking and being worried, and then you see a tribe attacking the truck, the rig driven by Furiosa, as I said, typical of Western movies. So it's not this, but how this pattern, this stylistic feature is played to reinforce the theme of looking for an identity. Okay, I've done more than enough, probably too much. So let's watch the beginning of the film. This is the end of the fight before Bumblebee shuts down.